Hello, everyone, and welcome to my channel. My name is Kat, and I am a certified professional coder, medical coder. The credentials that I hold are CPC and CRC, well, CPCA and CRC. I am currently studying for my CPMA, which is my auditing credential, as well as my CPCD, which is my dermatology specialty. So welcome to my channel. This channel is Level Up Coding, and my goal for this channel is to take you along on my journey and through medical coding, leveling up my coding skill as well as my career, and also to help you to decide if medical coding is the right profession for you. And again, welcome to my channel. So today I wanted to just basically give you a introduction to me and why you should listen to me and why you should follow me. And just to basically just help you, give you some insight into the medical coding career. So my journey into medical coding was, I don't know if it was typical or atypical. I don't know, but my journey is my journey, and your journey will be your journey if this is the profession that you choose to get into. But how I started. So I got interested in medical coding once I started to work in the billing office at the hospital that I worked at. I need to take a step back to tell you guys how I got into wanting to do this whole thing, and then bring you back forward to today, where I'm at today. So as far as I can remember from when I was a little girl, I was always interested in the medical field. Like, I wanted to be a doctor. I just knew I was going to be a doctor. As a child, as a kid, I was always really sick. I always had great doctors that took care of me, which, made me feel like that's what I wanted to do. Like, I was around doctors all the time, and I felt like my doctors were so great in helping me to maneuver through my illness that I wanted to be that for another little kid. So I decided that I was going to be a pediatrician. But when I went to school, I went to pre-med, stuff happened, like life happened. My mom got really sick. We were homeless for a little while. I was homeless while I was in college, and mentally my mind just could not handle being pre-med with a ill parent and not having a stable place to live. So while I, did have really high ambitions to complete my college degree, I just couldn't at that time. I had already had my associate's degree, so I do have an associate's degree, but going for that bachelor's and that master's and possibly that PhD was just very challenging for me at the time that I was studying. So I ended up dropping out of college pre-med. Now, with that being said, I still was very ambitious and needed to, keep my career going. I was a young mom. I had a family that I needed to support. So I was just trying to figure out other ways. So once I got settled, long story short, once I got settled, found a place to stay, got more on my feet. I ended up obtaining this job that worked with health savings accounts. They worked with dependent care accounts. They worked with FHA accounts. Oh, why can't I think of what FSA stands for right now? Flexible spending accounts, healthcare flexible spending accounts. So I work for a company that kind of managed those. So if you are familiar with some of the benefits that you get through your job, you probably have an option to have a flexible spending account, a health savings account, or a dependent care account, or even a transportation savings account, whereas they set aside pre-tax funds from your paycheck. They put it in this little bank, this little card, this little, and then you use it for those particular expenses. My job started out just to be adjudicating those claims. Like, you go spend the money, you send my company the receipts. We look at them. We say if stuff is approved on this list, against this list, or that the IRS gives us, or that it's not. And so I kind of like did that, and I became a lead, whereas I helped answer questions to some of the employees that actually work there. So like my knowledge of the FSA whole workings was a little bit more than an average person, because I had to be able to answer those hard questions. So with that job, this was, I want to say at least 17, 18, maybe even 20 years ago. And I was one of the first people that legitimately worked from home. So when I was working for that company, I decided I wanted to relocate. They felt like I was a valuable employee, so they offered me to work from home. So I worked from home for about 10 years for that company. And then after that, the company downsized, and I ended up finding myself looking for another job, which pretty much led me to work in the hospital. And because I had experience in claims, I just for sure knew that I could just go into, billing and work at a hospital, because, like I did it before. Well, it wasn't that simple. So when I got this job working in the hospital, I worked in the billing department, and I worked for work comp and motor vehicle accident sector of the billing department. Whereas basically, if you had like a work comp injury, or a injury on the job, and you had to go through your company's work comp plan, or you were involved in a motor vehicle accident and you used your motor vehicle insurance, I was the biller for those particular departments. So I had to make sure that, handle the billing part of it. Like if the bill came back and said that it was paid, I basically went into the account, notated that. If the bill came back and the insurance company didn't pay for whatever reason, I was responsible for calling, checking all that stuff, getting with the coder, getting with the NIOS team, to see how we can get this bill paid. What was the missing link in all this to get this paid for the hospital or the professional provider. So in doing that, I realized that I started to work with a lot of medical codes, because sometimes those claims would get denied due to coding errors. And although I did not have to know coding errors, no coding language, medical coding language, it was helpful, because I can either go in there and help the coder to figure out what was needed. I can help the denials team to communicate with the coders, or I can just write an appeal myself based on what I knew as far as the coding knowledge. In the billing department, we had access to like coding books and like limited coding software. So in my free time, I will just like take a look at that stuff, and it kind of got interesting to me. So I went to my supervisor and I told her, you know what, I'm interested in learning more about this. And she was like, I think you would be perfect for that job. She's like, you love to research. You pretty much stay on top of claims until they get paid. She was like, you're basically a self-motivator. I think you should do it. And she was like, and I'll help you in any kind of way that I can, so that's what I did. I researched like how I can get into medical coding. I found AAPC, and I found that it was self-paced. And I found that was one of the highest, most recognized credentials that, medical facilities and providers use. And so I went for it. So I ended up taking my tax return and enrolling in AAPC. And so it was, by it being self-paced, I'm not, even though I'm like a self-motivator, when it comes to school, I'm not excited to open up the book every day and like study. So it did take me a little while to complete the self-paced course. It probably took me 1.5 years to complete everything. Once I completed the course, I was able to sit down for the exam. It took me 3 tries, but I finally passed the exam. But within those 3 tries, I was already coding. So to that part. So I was a biller for maybe 2-3 years with this company. Then there was a coding position that came available. And while I was looking through like the internal job positions, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to apply for it. I'm done with school. I just have to sit for my test. This position said that I had to be able to obtain my credential within, I think, a year of being of accepting the position as a medical coder. And I was already finished with the class, so I figured I was going to pass this test with flying colors. So I went and applied. I had my supervisor, my current supervisor, already on my side. She vouched for me, and she called, like that supervisor, put in a good word for me. She kind of gave me tips. She kind of was my mentor through this whole process. She was like, hey, look, after you apply, you need to email them and just give them a heads up that you put in your application. You let them know if they need anything from me, that I'm willing to vouch for you all the way. She went and she talked to that supervisor, and she was like, hey, Kat, be an asset to your team. I think you should at least give her an interview. And that's what happened. I ended up getting an interview. I ended up having to sit for a little small test that they gave me. I passed that test, and I was offered a position. There was an entry-level position, a coder 1 position, doing E&M coding. Once I got that position, I shadowed with someone, and I basically sat in that position for almost a year before I actually passed my test and got my CPC credential. Like I said, it took 3 times. That was like the hardest thing I ever had to do. It was just so crazy. Like I was so frustrated with that because no matter what I did, I kept just missing it by like a couple of percentage points. Like I think you need maybe like let's say you need a 70% to pass, and like I would get it back, it would be like 68%. It'll be like 69. The next one was 69%. Like it was just crazy. But whatever it is, I was always like 1 or 2% off. And then I finally end up passing. Like my supervisor's like, it's no doubt that you know this stuff. Like, like I work with you every day. Like you just got to keep at it. My coworkers was helping me, with it. I ended up finding like a YouTube page. I know the credential, well, the what abbreviation is ACMI. Anyway, that was back when ICD-9 was still a thing. And it was just about to change over to ICD-10. They really helped me because it was the the crazy thing is the thing that I was doing, that was where I had the most trouble at, which was the E&M. I coded E&M all the time. I passed my audits at work, but just for some reason, the test I could not pass. And everybody know that's it for that test. The test is nothing like real world. The test gives you the knowledge to where you should look for these codes and like how to rationalize it in your head, but it's nothing like real world. So anyway, I ended up passing the test finally. I held that coding job for 4 years, maybe. And within that position, I ended up going from E&M to palliative coding to behavioral health coding to hospice care coding. What else did I do in that? I did a bunch of coding for that job. Like I was kind of, by the time I left, I was about to learn surgeries, but I ended up leaving before I was able to do that. I'm trying to think what else I did. If you keep following this channel, I'm sure I'll mention more positions, more specialties that I coded for during my whole entire coding career. But I ended up leaving that job just strictly for the money. Like I loved that place. I learned so much there, but I felt like it was time. I felt like I was coding so much and I had so much knowledge that I wanted, to be compensated a little more. And unfortunately, that job, they was doing a lot of like growth at the time, and they was allocating their funds within growing the company and not putting it back into the employees. So much as far as like a living wage. Like we got compensated in other ways. Like, they paid for our our membership fees. We got free webinars. We had so much education. Like that job was like the best that I ever had. But if I wasn't a single mom and didn't just need the money like that, I would have stayed there. And so anyway, I ended up leaving that job. In that job, I coded for hospital-based clinics. Ended up leaving that job to go to a strictly clinic, professional-based coding for a clinic. And I kept that job for maybe 3 years, almost 4 years as well. That was an experience because it was a startup company. The billing department was fairly new. And it was a small organization. They didn't have like the compliance department, the checks and balances. They didn't have a legal team. Well, they did, but their legal team was like one person. They was dealing with the legalities of the whole company instead of like just the billing legalities as well as the physician legalities. So it was just a lot that we had to do besides coding. But I wouldn't trade that job for anything because they gave me so much experience as to the revenue cycle and how all of it fit together. It gave me insight on how a whole coding department has to come to be, because it takes work. It takes work for a coding department. Like if you get into a hospital that's already established and that already, has so much experience with coding and with billing and all that stuff, you take for granted what it takes to make that department run smoothly. And I learned that with this clinic. Oh my God, it was so chaotic at times. Like it was so stressful. But like I said, I learned so much and it gave me my confidence as a coder. And that's so important as a coder. Like you need to have confidence because there's so many great areas in coding. And then once I felt like my time with them was up, they were going through so many changes, so many management changes. It was too much for me, for my personality. I wanted to go back into a entity that was basically established. So I went back into a hospital doing hospital-based coding, clinics. And I am now currently focused just on behavioral health coding and dermatology, which is why I'm going to get my dermatology credential and specialty credential. And I decided I'm going to get my auditing credential because to me, and like all the talk about medical coding is going more towards auditing instead of actually extracting codes and that such. So that's pretty much my journey through the medical coding, my medical coding career. I'm definitely going to get more into it as this channel progresses. But I love medical coding. Anybody that has a passion for medical field and wants to do something like on the back end, on the office side, not in the clinical side, coding is definitely a good option. Billing is too. Billing is a great option too. The follow-up team is great. The denials team is great. Like all of that. If you just love research and can handle all the changes that go into that comes with the medical field, this would be a perfect career for you. So that's pretty much it. So if you are interested in learning about how I am leveling up my coding skill, I invite you to subscribe to this channel. I invite you to follow along on this journey with me. I hope that this video was valuable to you, and I hope that you liked this video. If you did, could you please show me that you liked this video by giving it a thumbs up and just letting me know that you are interested in learning more about this journey and following along so that it can perhaps help you make your decision about your coding career. And YouTube also has a way that you can never miss a video. If you go ahead and click that bell notification buttons, it will give you an alert, a notification to let you know that I posted something on here. I'm definitely going to be posting shorts. I'm definitely going to be posting more videos. So I want to thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Have a good day.